What's up, guys? It's Goose from the Wise Wealth Discord, coming back at you with another Sunday watch list. Wanted to give you a heads up that we do have quite a bit of red folder news this week. ISM manufacturing Monday, got JOLTS job opening Tuesday, Wednesday, non-farm employment change, ISM services PMI. Wednesday, we have Fed Chair Powell speaking. I don't know why that kind of threw me off. Jerome Powell is speaking. We got unemployment claims Thursday. Friday, we got some non-farm and an unemployment rate. So obviously, as you can see, a lot of red folder news. We're probably going to have quite a bit of volatility from that. We'll see how that plays out when they do come out. The charts are all set up very, very bullish. There's lots of bull flags happening. As you can see, I start with the SPY, the S&P 500. Beautiful, beautiful pennant formation, rising wedge that's just breaking out now. You can break it down into the hourly and see that we're getting that beautiful break over previous resistance. As long as it holds the 600 level, I still think we're pretty bullish going into the end of the year. Obviously, being up 20% in each of the past 2 years, things are starting to look a little bit, eerie, where it's just a little sketchy. That's kind of what I'm starting to see on the Qs a little bit. There's a huge rising wedge that's kind of forming. If we do start to break below the 495 level, I think that's where we could start to get that leg down to the 200-day moving average. But that right now isn't really, something of concern. If we do start to break above 512, we easily are going to break above and see some blue skies above 517. SPY definitely looks a little bit better, and then same with IWM. Beautiful bull flag that's forming. The Qs, they look okay. I don't really know how I feel about it. I mean, you technically, instead of doing the big old rising wedge, you could show the flag that's forming right here. So they are pretty close to breakout levels. Anything below the 500 level that could start to turn bearish. Then you got to watch for the 494 level. But everything's still holding up pretty well, as you can see in most of these charts. It's just a pretty standard sideways action coming into December. I do think we're probably going to have another bullish follow through to finish out the year, just considering the seasonality aspect and people preparing for the Trump presidency. There's just certain things that people like to buy. Feud's down a little bit right now. I know futures don't really matter, but I mean, they do matter. They show more data, but not until the market opens is usually when I'm trading. So I just kind of look at some overnight levels for the most part, but came right into resistance, and as of right now, it's getting denied. If it does come back down, 27.75 would be a good place of support. And probably look for some longs. You got the Russell, same thing as the IWM that I was showing you. Just kind of a consolidation going sideways, waiting for the bull flag to break. On IWM, if we start to break above 245, we're in blue skies, and I think that's going to be a huge momentum shift once that happens. As you can see, it finally got above that large resistance that it had, came back, and that's exactly where it found support. Just trying to digest that huge moves that it's had. I mean, we're talking close to 10%, I think it was, since this level, about 8.5, almost 9% move in like 3 days. So now it's starting to cool off the RSI, which I love. Still base it out, and then hope for that break above. We'll get into some of the smaller equities. You can see that the treasuries are starting to bounce up a little bit. That came back, tested the 200-day moving average. Definitely something to be watching out for. If those things considered to rip higher, that can be a hamper on stocks, cryptos. Been covering Bitcoin a little bit more just because that huge break, just digesting that move, trying to build some more bulls right below the 100,000 mark. We'll see if we get that touch. Apple looking very, very good. That's going to be great for the Qs. We do start to get some bullish follow through with all those red folder news. That breaks above, we're in blue skies, and that's probably going to be a pretty big push. I'd assume around 250 would be a good target, profit take, whatever you would like to call it. If it does start to get denied, then you want to watch the 220 level, because if it loses that, it can go right back down to the bottom of the range at the 200 level, maybe go test this 200. Hypothetically, Microsoft's been in a very, very long range for a while now. We're talking close to, yeah, I mean, the start of 2024, so almost a whole year now. It's just been kind of in this range. It is kind of getting towards somewhat the top. I mean, I wouldn't say there's still this huge thing that happened too, but anything above 430 is definitely pretty bullish. With the weekly 200 EMA, is looking like it's kind of in between. Doesn't really know, but overall, if it does start to break the 430 range, you can start to see all-time highs, maybe 470. That'll be great for the Qs as well. Nvidia, I personally think that they're starting to look like a little bit toppy, but how long have we been, bears have been saying that for years and years now as they continue to rip higher. But I drew this just to show you kind of the head and shoulders, and I'm starting to see you have the left shoulder, the head, and then possibly if we have that big jump this week, it goes and creates that right shoulder, and then we have that follow through. I personally wouldn't be getting too bearish until next year. Usually, with how hedge funds work, they get their yearly bonuses and show the stats for the year at the end of the year. So typically, they're not really trying to sell too aggressively until the start of the next year. Tesla bull flagging perfectly. As you know, we've had that big break of this trend line that we've been watching for a long time. Finally got it, and it created a huge move. Now it's digesting that move. You just base it, and then if it starts to get above the 360 level, that will be absolutely huge. If it's above 360, I mean, probably 400. I think Jimmy said 400 possible by the end of the year. So it's not really very far off, especially from the 360 level of this, about 10%. I mean, as you can see, Tesla can do that in a day, can do it in a week very easily. So if it breaks above 360, 400 calls printing. Printing, printing, printing. Also, I don't know. I had to switch back to Streamlabs to make an actual video. I don't know how to add my face yet, so I apologize. It is goose in the flesh. You just gotta trust it. Meta with a perfect break and retest. Let me back this up to the 4 hour. All these are big tech, by the way, so that's why you kind of see Qs coiling up and just looks very, very good, structurally sound, creating higher highs. It created that big jump. Now we're getting the retest. It held 547 to a T. As you can see, it comes down. No more selling below that. It just catches that bottom. That was previous resistance, and now that's turned support. So if you could start to push its way up towards the top of the range, the 610 range, boom, you're back an all-time high. So we'll see how that plays out. Nice structurally sound thing on Meta. AMD, they've been in this trend for a while. As you can see, most of the time they do this for a while. They have these big bearish trends, and then when it breaks, it breaks. Big bearish trend, it broke. Now it's doing another bearish trend. So as long as it comes down here, I think 125 would be a fantastic spot to start buying. It is below its 200-day moving average, which is never really a good sign, but overall I'm pretty bullish on semis. And if you go to Soxel, it's coming into this big trend line. Let me back it up. Let me go to the daily. It should find a support here, which used to be a previous resistance. And last time it found a decent support level where it didn't quite break the trend. We had a huge roaring upside. So we'll see. I do think semiconductors have been relatively lacking as compared to most other markets. So eventually they're probably going to be rotated back in. And ideally, if AMD does keep dropping down, 125 would be a great place to start accumulating shares and/or long options, in my opinion. So I think it'll come right back up and do one of these, maybe create a lower high, or that's the breakout point, and it keeps going. We shall see, but overall, I'm still pretty bullish on AMD. It just, as you can see, it's always been known to like do these bearish trends until it breaks above. And that's what creates its higher high. So still bullish, just kind of doing its normal thing, cooling off the RSI until it creates another leg higher, and then possibly we get the 300 range. We shall see. Google came back, retested it. They had quite a bit of antitrust things and monopoly issues that they were being sued for. It's riding right up along this 200-day moving average. If it does lose that, then you're at jeopardy at the 150 range. If you start to hold this, maybe you can move into the all-time highs, maybe possibly crack the 200 level. That would be awesome. Amazon, been a really strong one that we've been watching for 2 days now. They always do very well. It's a great company long term. Always suggest to hold them no matter what. Um, Not much to really show here. I mean, it looks like it's starting to have a beautiful U shape. Had a couple strong days with some volume, and there's a gap above. So if it does start to get above this 208, 210 will be quick, and then all-time highs and blue skies right above 216. We'll see how it acts, but I love that it breaks above previous resistance, comes back, retests it, and now it's getting that boomerang bounce. So yeah, above 216, if the red folders turn into good news, all the data comes out well, Jerome Powell pumps the market per usual, all these things will continue to go higher. Netflix, they're getting to that point where I think they might do another stock split. They have had, I think, 3 stock splits in the past. The last one's been, I think it was 2013, 2014 area. So they're getting to that point where they're just so overstretched and getting expensive where stock splits usually happen to just kind of the general like retail investor gets kind of priced out after a while. So they do a stock split just to kind of keep the price relatively more attractive, just like they did with NVIDIA, where it was in the $1,200 range. And they brought it right back down to 138 to make it a little bit more attractive. But personally, I think it's overstretched. You see the RSI is getting a little ridiculous, but as you can see, I probably said it's overstretched a million times on the way up, so it just keeps going. And if it does come back down, maybe 700 would be a great support to start accumulating some things. But if they do announce a stock split like most people are expecting, it usually runs up into that. So if they do announce it, there's probably going to be more green on the way. I don't really see it slowing down, but very bullish action. I mean, you can't deny what's happening on the charts. Charts are still very, very bullish, but you would like to see it broken above all-time highs. Other than that, not much I've been looking at. Coinbase has a beautiful flag that it is forming. Tyler Boren and I have been watching that. I have common shares on them, but you can see the beautiful flag. Anything above 330, 340, you're gone. It's going to be right back at all-time highs in no time. All-time highs was their IPO at 435, and then below 272 start to get bearish. Probably go test the 200-day moving average at 220. But most of my shares are within the $200 range. Right now I'm buffing considerable amount, so nothing too drastic, even though they were down 4%. So we'll keep an eye on it. Futes right now just kind of flat, a little bit red. Um, Q's looking beautiful. Spies looking beautiful, even better to be honest. And then as you can see, all these big tech names are just flagging up, just going sideways. I do think NVIDIA could be closer, to a top than a bottom, but that's just my opinion. Apple is getting really close to this resistance, so either we get rug pulled at all these resistances and all these bull flags start to break down, or we go for that next leg higher. That's kind of where we're at as we go sideways. The market's just kind of digesting a huge move since that Trump rally, and we did lose most of our gains since then, since he was announced president. So we'll see if we eat it all up and just go for another all-time high. I don't think there's anything too concerning out there. A lot of people are fear mongering and do this, do that. Nah, everything's looking pretty bullish as of right now until you start to see some of these flags broken down of the rising wedge that I've drawn. If this starts to break down 497, then yes, I think things will start to look bearish. But in my opinion, I don't think that comes until January of next year. But as of right now, IWM, one of my favorite plays, QQQ, looking beautiful, and SPY as well. I hope everyone found a little bit of help through this, and thank you for tuning in. You guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and let's kill it this week.